freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard. From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. Businessman there, drink my wine. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you live from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network at WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia and around the world on the internet with CPR Worldwide Media. Got to turn that all the way down. There you go. TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Rebooting Liberty Radio Network, AM, FM 24/7, and a whole bunch of others. And joining me today as my co-host is the patriot from Washington, D.C., the exceptional one, the exceptional conservative, my good buddy, Kenneth McClinton. Ken, welcome today to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Well, happy New Year, benevolent dictator that you are. So glad to be in your presence and also to be amongst those and the wonderful Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware who are listening also around the world on Conservative Commandos Radio Network.
Mm-hmm. Well, Ken, You don't know how happy I am to be with you. Number one, I'm not feeling great today. I do have a slight cold. I've also been battling with a bunch of people on Facebook today over a couple of things. One is Deptford Township, New Jersey, right near our studios. The Board of Education is trying to push through $100 million bond issue. $100 million, Ken, which is like 10% of $1 billion, okay?
Yeah.
So I have a lot of questions about this bond issue, and I've raised these questions on social media. And, of course, there are some out there who don't like these questions that I'm raising because, oh, this bond issue is for the children. It's for the children, Ken. How do you fight against the children, Ken? I do not know. However, when you look at this bond issue, it's like a Christmas wish list. Okay?
Wow.
You know, Ken, when I was a little boy, I wanted a pony. So every year I'd ask my parents for that pony. I never got it, by the way, but I'd ask every year. When I became an adult, I'd ask for an airplane engine every year. I didn't get that either. But you should see some of the items that are on this bond issue, this $100 million bond issue that the Deptford Board of Education wants the voters to approve. Some of the things I think are on there may be very needed, okay? For instance, they say the roofs at the schools need fixing and that we have to build new classrooms and hire new teachers. And by the way, the teachers' salaries, benefits, and pensions are not part of this $100 million bond issue. But when you build new classrooms, that's all part of it, right, Ken? You got to hire. If you're going to have classrooms, you got to hire teachers. Well, a couple of the items on this, Ken, is for emergency backup generators for the schools. And when I've tried to talk to the members of the Board of Education, they says, oh, we need it for power outage. Look what happened during Hurricane Sandy and the blizzards and whatever. Well, Ken, you're a parent. I'm not. But let me ask you this. Would you send your kids to school if there was a blizzard? You know, generally, Ken, they shut schools down when there's an inch of snow. Ken, would you send your child to school if there was a forecast for a hurricane to hit Washington, D.C.?
No.
I don't think you would. And yes, we have power outages occasionally. There's a power outage. Maybe a squirrel run across the wire and got electrocuted. Maybe an unfortunate driver hit a telephone pole. But they want to spend about $200,000 per school for emergency generators. And then they want to change the light systems in some of the schools, the hallways, to LED lighting. Oh, and then in front of every school, Ken, there's a sign. Might say Deptford High School. Well, they want to change all these signs. They want to make all these signs LED signs at $35,000 a piece.
Woo!
And then, Ken, every school's got to have a sports program, as does the Deptford Township schools. So at the high school, they want $60,000 for a scoreboard at the soccer field. $60,000 for a scoreboard.
Wow.
Now, I think that the girls at the softball field should be angry about this because they only want to spend $40,000 for the scoreboard at the softball field. Well, I'm sure every member of the baseball team wants this passed because they want to spend $50,000, Ken, $50,000 for baseball dugouts. Okay? Wow. Oh, and Deptford Township is a very friendly community, and they want all visitors to feel welcome. So they're proposing spending $178,000 for bleachers on the visitor side of the field. And Ken, I could go on and on and on about this, but I do want to say, I do want to say, I have a lot of questions about this bond issue, and if anyone in Deptford, anybody who is a voter in Deptford, anybody who is a citizen, anybody who sends their kids to Deptford schools, anybody who is a taxpayer, they should have questions too. Well, the Board of Education and the superintendent is having a series of town hall events.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at this series of town hall events, all but like one of them are for school groups, school organizations, parents' clubs at the school. They have one for a senior citizens group. They have one for the Boy Scouts. I guess the superintendent wants to win the Boy Scouts over. And they have one for a Rotary Club. So I invited the superintendent of schools, Charles Ford, to come to our studios here at WNJC, which is only about 1 mile from Deptford High School, to let the listeners out there know about this $100 million, that's right, 1/10 $1 billion budget, and all the things that are on there. And Ken, my gosh, we don't have enough time to go over everything that's on this budget. And I spoke with Dr. Ford about this yesterday, and he agreed to come into the studios. Not part of Conservative Commandos, but a separate show that we were going to do, a special edition show about this bond issue. Well, he said yes, he would. I called him on Monday. He said he'd think about it. I called him yesterday. He said sure, he'd be happy to. Had a very nice conversation with him. But then today I get a call from, not Dr. Ford. I didn't get a call from Dr. Ford, but I got a call from his secretary informing me he was canceling and he did not wish to reschedule. I don't know why, but if you go to Dr. Ford's website, if you go to the Board of Education, the Deptford Board of Education website, talking about, and they have very clever names for this. This is the Spartan program, okay? They call it the Spartan program, okay? And by the way, to find it on their website, they have it in the smallest possible print that you could on that website, which makes it very difficult for me to see because I don't see real well, even with glasses. And Dr. Ford has a real nice message how he invites everyone to come out to these town halls. And if any group or organization would like to host him so he could explain this $100 million, 1/10 $1 billion bond issue, he would love to come out and speak with him. But Dr. Ford doesn't want to come to WNJC.
Oh, poor Dr.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing?
He got your cold over the phone. That's probably the reason.
I hopefully had set this up with him for next Saturday, the 16th of January, 12 noon. Hopefully, I'll be over that cold by then. But you see, Ken, when you raise a $100 million bond issue, which is 1/10 $1 billion, guess where that money comes from, Ken?
Yeah.
Comes from the taxpayer. The taxpayer. So every residence in Deptford would have their taxes increased, depending upon the value of the home, but probably from $200 to $600 per year. Okay?
Wow.
200 to 6, and that is just for this $100 million, 1/10 $1 billion bond issue. Everyone will have their property taxes raised from $200 to $600 per year, on top of, Ken, all other tax increases, be it federal government, state government, county government, municipal government, your water and sewer bill, on top of all other tax increases, will be a $200 to $600 tax increase. Now, there's another bit of news. Oh, by the way, when you talk about tax increases, my wife is a retired teacher.
Mm-hmm.
She spent 33 years as a teacher, as a coach, as a department head. She put in her time.
Yes.
So she does get a pension. And just this week, she got a notice from the state of New Jersey that her pension was being increased, Ken.
All right.
Well, all right, but it's not really going to match this $200 to $600 tax increase. Her pension increase, Ken, was $1.67.
Wow.
Now, in addition to that, Ken, we, as a lot of people out there, are on Social Security. We didn't get any cost of living increases this year, okay? But the Deptford Township Board of Education wants to sock everybody with a $200 to $600 tax increase for things like dumb doors, Ken. For instance, when you walk in, first you have to be buzzed. You have to buzz from the outside to get into a first door. Then you have to show identification to get through to the second door into the office. And by the way, these systems are not cheap, Ken. Okay?
They're not.
Now, just yesterday, at one of the Deptford schools, there was a lockdown. You know, the doors are supposed to be kept locked in the school all the time. I don't know how you do that with 1,000 kids in the school, but they're supposed to be locked at all time. However, one student let an individual in who happened to be a teacher. But that student didn't even know it was a teacher. So because of that, there was a big lockdown. You know, Ken, I think for a whole lot less money and for a whole lot more security, they can do something like putting an armed guard at the door. Or do what they do in the courts. If you go into a court today, there is a guard, and you go through a metal detector. You have to show identification, and you have to show why you're going to court and where you're going and whatever. Why not have that at the schools? You know, Ken, at the Sandy Hook School in Newtown, Connecticut, where there was that terrible shooting where 20-some-odd children and teachers were killed, Sandy Hook now has armed guards at that school. Ken, I am a huge believer in education.
Yep.
I really am. I am a huge believer in protecting our children in our schools. But some of these ideas in this $100 million, $0.1 billion bond issue, to me, make no sense. So as I said, I invited the superintendent of schools, Dr. Charles Ford, to come to the studio to sit down, and I was going to give him 2 hours to explain his bond issue. When I first talked to Ford, he said, would he be supplied with any questions in advance? I said no, because I'm going to ask the community in Deptford, what questions do they have of this bond issue? And he thought that was fair. But today, as I said, he didn't call to cancel. He had his secretary call to cancel, saying that he would not come to the radio station. He was canceling, and he would not reschedule. Dr. Ford, you missed a terrific opportunity to come here to educate me, to educate a lot of the people who are in Deptford, a lot of the people who will not be able to make it to your town hall meetings. Dr. Ford, why are you hiding? Why are you hiding the details of this bond issue? By the way, Ken, the vote on this bond issue is not like next year or whatever. It's March the 8th, which is 2 months from today. Now, they just rolled out this bond issue, not back in the latter part of December. I'm sure they wanted to hide it, to sneak it in. You know, people were very busy with their holiday plans and their parties and Christmas, New Year's, Hanukkah. You know, it all falls in December. So that's when they rolled it out. Okay? There's only been a couple of newspaper articles about this bond issue. So I would like to know from Dr. Ford why he wouldn't take an opportunity to come here to talk to the citizens of Deptford about the need for this $100 million, 1/10 of $1 billion bond issue. Crickets, wow. You hear the crickets, Ken? I guess that's Dr. Ford's response. By the way, Dr. Ford, I'm here at the studio. If somebody's hearing this, or one of your bootlickers are hearing this, the telephone number is 856-227-1360. 856-227-1360. I invite you to call me, Dr. Ford. Even if you don't want to come to the studio and be exposed to my call, I can't blame you. But let's talk on the telephone. How about if you explain this $100 million, 1/10 of $1 billion bond issue to the taxpayers, voters, and residents of Deptford Township, New Jersey?
Makes all sense in the world.
Dr. Ford, one more time, the number is 856-227-1360. I would be very happy to hear from you. I think a lot of our other listeners here would also. Well, Ken, I went on a little long with that one, didn't I?
No, hey, you should be outraged at this particular juncture.
Oh, Ken. You know, one other thing I started to tell you, and let me get all this out, and then we can talk about our show. The state of New Jersey is the most overtaxed, highly taxed state in the country. We have had governors going back 20, 30 years that instead of paying into the pension system, refuse to do so, and they just keep kicking that can down the road. By the way, listeners and voters out there, our governor, Chris Christie, you know, this great conservative, he's the latest governor to kick the can down the road. He balanced his budget by not putting money into the pension funds for, say, county municipal employers, school teachers, retired police, fire, EMT. You know, that's where all that money goes. Yeah. So, Ken, this thing is like $20 billion in the hole now. So what a guy by the name of Steve Sweeney, who is the president of the New Jersey Senate, who's probably going to run for governor, by the way. He wants a ballot initiative to make it a constitutional mandate that the pension fund be funded. Okay? That would mean the state would have to put about $4 to $5 billion a year into this fund. Now, the state's budget is now about $33 billion a year. We are the most highly taxed state in the country. That would mean every way the government has now to raise money to fund the government would have to be increased. Taxes, fees, sales tax, income tax, property tax, excise taxes, gas taxes, you name it, they would have to raise another $4 to $5 billion a year to fund this. So figure this is an increase in every tax in this state, 15 to 20%. I'm not great at math. This is just rough math I'm talking here. But you know, you always, when you're talking about government spending and taxing, you always up that number. Okay?
Exactly.
So New Jersey, being the highest tax state in the country, will be hit with an additional 15 to 20% tax on everything. That's on top of that $100 million, $0.1 of $1 billion tax in Deptford Township or any other township, municipality, county in this state.
Wow.
Ken, why don't you tell us who we're going to be talking with today?
Well, today's going to be a very interesting program. We, of course, will have our state representative, Catherine Pruden O'Brien, from New Hampshire with us today, and she got into a bit of a tiff with Hillary Clinton, former Secretary of State, who's running for the presidency of the United States. We'll talk about that in great detail at 3:35. Michael Meharry from the 10th Amendment Center will be with us at 4:05, and we'll be talking about Kentucky's push to eradicate the federalization of their gun programs, or at least in the institution of federal gun control in the state. And then Greg Hopkins will be joining us at 4:35, and we'll be discussing exactly what the town hall meeting was all about last night. It seemed to be more of an anti-NRA party than it was anything of a town hall meeting with the President of the United States.
Very interested to speak with our first guest, Catherine. I mean, the video that features her has gone viral across the country, her trying to question Hillary Clinton. And we're going to get her firsthand. We're going to get it from her firsthand as to what she wanted to ask Hillary Clinton about, and the treatment that she got from Hillary Clinton at that crowd at that rally. Ken, have you had an opportunity to see that video?
No, actually, I have not. I've heard about it, but I have not actually heard the video.
Okay, well, I'm checking right now, but this video has definitely gone viral, and it seems to me it really needs to be exposed what Hillary Clinton is all about. So,
exactly.
Great to talk with her today. All right, Ken, you got 2 minutes to tell me whatever's on your mind. I spent the first 28 minutes telling you what's on my mind. What's on your mind today?
Well, the big story out of Philadelphia is the gentleman who attempted to take the life of a police officer. Last night, the 30-year-old police officer will be in need of surgeries and other supports as he's attempting to recover. But apparently the person who shot him did so in the name of Allah. Apparently this was a person who had pledged allegiance to ISIS. So our prayers are with and for the police officer and his family. Our hopes is that he will heal and recover, hopefully great enough to come back on the force, if not definitely to survive the injuries. Officer Jesse Hartman is the 33-year-old police officer who actually survived an assassination attempt by a gentleman who sought to end his life in the name of Allah.
By the way, Ken, I just went on YouTube to check out the video that is featuring our very first guest, State Representative Catherine Pruden O'Brien. And this video has been viewed 417,470 times. So when I say going viral, that's what I mean by going viral. Hey, Ken, right now let's take that first break, and you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with my good buddy Ken McClinton and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, along with our internet broadcast partners, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Rebooting Liberty Radio Network, AM/FM 24/7, and a whole bunch of others. Today's show is being brought to you by the First Amendment, protected by the Second. Haven't heard from Dr. Ford yet. Phone number 856-227-1360. Pass it to Dr. Ford. Be right back.
You've
You've heard Paul Dilts playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard. From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. Drink my wine. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, fellow listeners. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Ken McClinton and yours truly, Rick Drader. And for rebroadcast of our shows, please check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com, or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com, or at 2 p.m., roarradio.net, or at 9 p.m., highplainsdailynews.com. You could also hear our show at any time from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199. As our first guest, we have, in my opinion, a very courageous lady, and that is New Hampshire State Representative Catherine Prudhomme O'Brien, who is, how do I want to say this, featured in a video that has gone viral, has been seen 417,000 times on YouTube, and it is of her trying to question Hillary Rodham Clinton. Catherine Prudhomme O'Brien, welcome to Conservative Commandos Radio Show. Great to have you with us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, it is our honor, and we're so glad that you have decided to join us today. May I call you Catherine?
Yeah, sure, that's fine.
Okay. First of all, please set up that day for us. What were your intentions?
Okay, so this goes back quite a while. That's my dog, excuse me.
No problem.
Of course that would happen now.
Of course. It's live radio. Happens all the time.
Hey, that's all right. I'll go in the other room.
Okay.
But, my husband just came home. Okay, so I have been trying to do that for a long time, and I've asked Mrs. Clinton if she believes Juanita Broaddrick long before this. I asked Al Gore this back in '99, and he gave me kind of an odd answer. He just told me that I should forgive Clinton, but he also did not know about the Dateline NBC interview that Juanita Broaddrick gave. So when I've asked her this in the past, I've had two opportunities to ask her at different events in New Hampshire. And that was just after events, when I go up to her afterwards.
Right.
And she said she doesn't know who that is 2 times, and I was just...
Doesn't know who is Juanita Broaddrick?
Correct. And this last time she told me she didn't know who it was, and she didn't care.
Okay.
And that was annoying.
I would find that... sorry to interrupt. I would find that very hard to believe she doesn't know who she is. Because, we have talked to a couple of people here on our show, one being Kathleen Wiley, who was one of the Bill Clinton accusers, and she told us that after that Hillary Clinton sicked people on her to try to get her to shut up. Right, and Juanita Broaddrick called me after I asked Al Gore this question back in '99, and told me that she thought that that Hillary Clinton knew that she had been raped, not a consensual affair. I mean, I specifically said, because I asked her about that, and she said that she felt threatened by Mrs. Clinton to be quiet when she was in an event. Event after the rape, and she felt threatened by her. Well, Dick Morris. Mrs. Clinton knew that it was a rape, and then went up to her and threatened her to be quiet. I mean, it's hard to wrap your head around that kind of. It's hard to wrap your head around that kind of. Wow. Catherine, let me ask you this: as you mentioned, you had tried to speak with Hillary Clinton a couple of times about this. Yep. The day that this video was taken of you at a town hall meeting not too long ago, did you have any particular message or question different from what you tried to ask her before? Yes, because last month someone asked her about this, and she just said that there was a lot of evidence to make her not believe Juanita Broaddrick and Kathleen Willey and Paula Jones. Those people you don't believe. This is the questioner said, you've said that rape survivors should be believed when they say that they've been raped, and
do you believe these women? And Mrs. Clinton just said, no, and there's a lot of evidence to the contrary. Mm-hmm. And there was no follow-up. It was a little odd, you know. I thought someone who was curious enough to ask that question would probably have some follow-ups, such as what kind of evidence is there? Because I've been watching.
I would think so.
And that's what I was yelling at her. I knew that I would never have another chance to be in the same room with her again. Well, maybe I would, but I wasn't really. I was just getting sick of the whole thing.
Right.
About the obfuscation and not answering these questions. I've had it.
Now, looking at the video, Nina, sometimes video is a little hard to. It can be a little deceiving as far as depth. You were how far from her during this town hall meeting?
Well, I don't know, maybe 10 feet.
So
15.
It in all likelihood, she recognized you from other times you've tried to speak with her?
She doesn't seem to know who anybody is, though. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Did you ever have, in your position as a state representative of New Hampshire, did you ever have an occasion to talk with her, negotiate with her, anything on an official capacity?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay. All right.
No,
now,
I'm a Republican, and she would probably avoid hanging out with Republicans at all costs.
Well, and why was it important to you to deliver this message to her at this event?
Well, there was just the hypocrisy, of course. Mm-hmm. I myself am a rape survivor, so to me it's a little personal.
Sure.
And I was recently speaking with our Secretary of State in New Hampshire, who is just really a very well-esteemed man. And everybody loves him. That's the best I can put it. Mm-hmm. Bill Gardner. And he was talking about Article 4 of our state constitution. We have unalienable rights of conscience. Everybody has that. Mm-hmm. So a moral duty to go there and get this answer, or show that she refuses to answer it. Either one of those things. I knew it was going to be uncomfortable. I knew I was going to have to be impolite. I knew I was going to have some conduct unbecoming a state representative. I knew that. I did it anyway. I was there. I was prepared to get arrested. That's how strongly I felt about this. And after that talk with the Secretary of State, I just thought, you know, our founding fathers put this in here for a reason. So mm-hmm. I'm going to go and live the dream, you know. Mm-hmm.
Since that day, have you had any other contact with Hillary Clinton, anybody associated with her or her campaign or the Clinton Foundations, or has anyone contacted you in person, on the phone, in the mail, email, or any way whatsoever? Anyone around Hillary Clinton?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, I've gotten some hate calls and hate mail, but I don't know if those people were connected to Hillary. I just don't know them.
Right. What would your message be to other women about Bill and Hillary Clinton?
That they're not good for women. How about that one? And I think a lot of young women don't know anything about this. And a lot of people also, I think, that I was getting that pushback early on. You know, people thought I was very rude to her and that I shouldn't ask this. Those people thought I was asking about consensual relationships, not what I was doing at all. And
well, that crowd really didn't give you an opportunity to say what you wanted to say, did they?
No, they were not happy with me, which I knew that would happen. The message I would give to young people and just everybody that has questions about this is to go online and look up Juanita Broaddrick, Dateline NBC interview. It's on YouTube. You can find it very easily, much more easily than way back in '99 when YouTube wasn't available, you know?
Right.
And I would ask them to just watch it, think about it, make up their own mind.
Yeah. Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, we are speaking with New Hampshire State Representative Catherine Prudhomme O'Brien, and she is featured in a video that has gone viral of her trying to question Hillary Clinton at a town hall meeting. I know my co-host Kenneth McClinton has a couple of questions that I want to bring Ken in for, but before I do that, I wanted to get your reaction to the treatment that you got, not just from Hillary Clinton, but the reaction that you got from the audience, the people around you that day, After the town hall, did anyone ask you questions? Did anybody ridicule you, threaten you, congratulate you? What went on after the meeting?
Well, I was glad that the press came over and asked me some questions because that has not happened in the past. Mm-hmm. There's something a little different now, and I'm glad about that. I'm glad. So, yeah, I did. I talked to CNN and lots of other news organizations. There was a lot of people that came over and asked me some questions. I was very hard to ignore where I was. I did that on purpose. Right. If I'm going to ask this question, I've got to be in a place where it's hard to ignore me. I'm just going to go sit right up as, close as I can. And, that's what I did. And I was not really that surprised with the reaction of the group. The man sitting next to me, I was talking to him for quite a while before the event started. I told him exactly what I was going to do. Uh-huh. He told me that he didn't think that was an appropriate question and that I probably wouldn't get called on. So I told him, well, when it comes time to ask questions, I guess I'll just blurt it out. I told him. He seemed kind of surprised, but,
As you said, you've received some hate mail or hate calls, whatever. But in your wildest dreams, did you ever think the video would go viral and what you did would have such an impact?
Yes, I did. Okay. Because this was an event and where I was set up, where I put myself, I knew that it would be hard to ignore me, unlike other events. Mm-hmm. And I knew, that to put myself in a position where it would be hard to ignore. I've been very polite at everything else. Mm-hmm. Very polite, and politely ask her afterwards because she called on me. I politely ask her afterwards these questions, and I knew that nobody's paying attention to that. And I need to get this out now because when the New Hampshire primary that's in February, when that happens, after that, will I ever see this woman again? I don't think so. So I better.
Well, if you're lucky, you won't.
Right. Well, I'm now. I don't think so. But I was just trying to strike while the iron was hot. It was an opportunity.
Well, Catherine, I believe that sometimes you have to go out of the box. You have to go outside your safety zone. In 2008, when John McCain was running for president against Barack Obama, I went to a town hall meeting in Burlington County, New Jersey, and was in the crowd and wanted to ask John McCain a question, and I was not called on during that period. So when everything was wrapping up, I got as close to him as I safely could, so I would not have been a threat to him or anybody else. But at the same time, I took my hands and cupped them by my mouth and yelled as loud as I could, drill here, drill now, drill here, drill now. And I kept my distance, and I also kept my hands where the Secret Service could watch them, because certainly I was gaining attention from them. Did you at any time, at any time, did you feel fearful?
Well, I didn't think anything would happen to me right at that moment. I thought that I might be arrested, or that the Secret Service would send me out and not arrest me. I wasn't sure what would happen. But
you weren't arrested. No. Secret Service didn't approach you or anything like that.
They came over to me and told me that I should stop disrupting the event, or they're going to have to move me. And I said, then remove me now. Have me arrested. Do whatever you need to do.
And did they?
No, I think that it was difficult for them to get to me in a way that wouldn't have been disruptive and embarrassing for that event. I think that if they were to take me out, it would have been, I was so close to the front, it would have been difficult. I don't think they really wanted to do that on camera.
Right. Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, we are speaking with a very brave and courageous lady, New Hampshire State Representative Catherine Prudhomme O'Brien, who is in her first term in the New Hampshire House, and she represents Derby, New Hampshire.
Not Derry, not Derby.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have an eye problem. I didn't Derry, Derry. Sorry about that. And On the other line is my co-host, Ken McClinton, and I want to bring Ken into this conversation because I know he has questions for you. Ken?
Yeah, I just find your courage just awesome. But here's my query. Because in public, a lot of people say things and do things, but in private, they're the exact opposite. You were ridiculed for the question that you made publicly, and at that particular setting. However, have women from the other side, from the other aisle, come to you and privately say, thank you for being bold enough to ask that question?
People thanking me for that question. They don't always identify if they're Democrats or Republicans. But I think something happened the other day that I thought was pretty important, and that was I ran into a friend at the grocery store, and he told me that his sister has been a huge Hillary supporter for a long time and was always talking about how she loved Hillary. But after this happened, she said that she was that she thought I made some good points and that this was something to pay attention to. I think that was good, and I think you need to give people some time to let some of this news sink in. If they are big Hillary supporters, they personally are big Hillary supporters, like, don't yell at them and tell them they're dumb or anything. Just ask them to watch the video themselves of Juanita Broaddrick and think about that for themselves. And I think when you do that, a lot of them start to question how for women this woman is.
I'm sorry, I don't want to come across as crude or abrasive, but does this matter even matter to individuals anymore? I mean, you got Bill Cosby, you got Bill Clinton. I mean, what difference does it make? Is the question of the day. How do you respond to that?
Well, that ties into part of why I thought it was important to do this. It is important. It's still important. If this had happened to your wife or your daughter or you, it would be important. And if you felt like nobody cared about it, it would be very difficult for you. And I have a constituent who recently told me we have a problem with opioids in New Hampshire, and a lot of people are addicted to it. And a man told me he was a recovering addict. And I said, so what happened? Nobody held a gun to your head and told you to stick a needle in your arm. Why did you go down that path? What happened? He told me that he had been sexually abused as a kid, and nobody did anything to help him, and there was a lot of pain. And he didn't care if he lived or died. So those are the sorts of things that can happen if this is not addressed. But you think about what did Martin Luther King say? An injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere.
If I could jump in for a minute, Ken. Catherine, is that why you decided to run for office, your past experience?
I guess it would be part of it. It does come into play where I received some information from one who had a very complicated story. She said that she was raped. It was just complicated. And I looked at that letter and I said, my goodness, that's complicated. The only way this makes sense is if this woman had I'm going to have to say, a very challenging childhood. Because this woman didn't have enough respect to do some things that I think most people would assume anyone would do. And of all the other reps that got the letter, I was the only one that called her and tried to help her and tried to follow up. And when she told me the police weren't even investigating, I called and asked the detective what the heck was going on and had a debate with him about why he should please just investigate. And he had some really very old-fashioned ideas about this. And I tried to discuss with him how everything could be factual, but a little unusual. And so that's been good. I'm glad I was able to do that. I just, you know what, this is going to sound so goofy. I really like helping people, and I love my people, and I don't like it when anyone is treated unfairly. It's not right.
Exactly. Ms. Broaddrick made comments recently that the pain still lingers. She still remembers, and that she was silenced by Hillary Clinton. Do you think it's ideological that people silence on this particular issue or made to keep people silent, or are there other concerns?
Okay, definitely other concerns. Definitely. Because if you have this in your past and you don't feel like other people take it seriously, all kinds of things can happen. I know that because this situation is not treated seriously, individuals become drug addicts. I already talked about that one. Individuals can have a lifetime of depression. Individuals can become very cynical and stop caring about so many things. And they one way of dealing with it would be to become so cynical you don't really care about other things, and you maybe become a person who's pretty cold and callous. I have a hard time when I see the news and something happens to someone and there isn't justice. It can make me upset for the whole day. Mm-hmm. Where I think, yeah, well, who cares? There's justice anyway. And that's definitely part of why I decided to run. But it would get me, upset for a while, especially if it was a woman that there wasn't justice. Of course, this personal issue, but say the mistreatment of foster kids, I just can't take it. It bothers me a lot. It really bothers me.
And my final question to you, because I just think you're very brave, and I know if you were my wife, or if my wife supposed that question was treated so harshly, I would seek immediate vengeance. But what exactly would you like to see happen for the rest of this campaign on this particular issue?
I would like other women to take this up. I would like it doesn't even have to be women, men. I would like for other people to just take this cause and keep asking Hillary Clinton, and if Bill Clinton is on the trail, keep asking him about it. Do you know, I have heard from some reporters, and I thought they were pretty powerful. These people, some big names, I thought that they would have access to ask this question. They can't ask this question. They say when they ask questions that the campaign doesn't want, Clinton campaign doesn't want, they're just looked at like they're ghosts. They ignore it and just don't answer it.
If I can jump in for a minute, Catherine, you are doing what you're doing because of something that is very negative to you. Over the past summer, Ken had a daughter who was Ken, my co-host, Kenneth McClinton, had a daughter who was waiting for a bus. There was another individual there, and while the daughter, Ken's daughter, and this other man was waiting there, somebody else come along on a motorcycle. The other guy grabbed Ken's daughter and used her as a human shield. The guy on the motorcycle shot and killed Ken's daughter. Both perpetrators ran away. One of the reasons why I do this show, the Conservative Commandos radio show, is I had a 39-year-old niece that had a 20-year drug problem. And because of a $20 debt she owed two kids, a 15-year-old and a 17-year-old, she was beaten up so badly at a train station that she had to have facial reconstruction surgery. So what do they do with people in pain? They put them on drugs, which is not the best thing for a drug addict to begin with. My niece died.
I'm really sorry to hear that.
My niece, well, what I'm getting at is I'm just setting this up. My niece died, and our family felt so powerless. We had nowhere to go. We didn't know any politician. The two kids got 2.5 years in a juvenile justice facility. And I only say that because out of that tragedy comes something called the Conservative Commandos radio show. Out of your tragedy, you are doing what you're doing. Ken's been doing this for a while, but Ken continues to fight in Washington, D.C. for powerless people and other families who are victims of horrible crimes. So I think the three of us, we are examples of what you can do, how you can make a difference, how you can make something come out of the situation, how you can make your life better, how you can make the lives better of people around you. So I want to thank you. I want to congratulate you for being such a strong woman. I want to congratulate you for doing what you did. God bless you.
Thank you. And I'm very sorry again that
you have either
Who was that?
Are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here. Can you hear us?
Yes. I'm just really shocked, and I did not know that about the two of you.
Well, as I said, bad things happen to everyone in life. The difference is how do you handle these tragedies? Do you try to make something good out of it? Do you try to make something right out of it? Whereas you were saying, Catherine, about your friend who was drug addicted because they were sexually abused, or all the sexual abuse victims that commit suicide. I mean, you know, you got to live your life. You got to go on with your life, and make things better for yourselves, your family, your loved ones, and your community. And I wanted to have you on the show, and we're running a little late, and I apologize for taking so much of your time, but I wanted to have you on the show because I believe it is so important for people like you to tell your story about somebody who's running for the most popular or the most powerful office in the world. Because I think it does make a difference that she's married to Bill Clinton, and he's never been brought to justice for what he's done to women.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Catherine Prudhomme O'Brien, we want to thank you so much for joining us. Do you have a website or any way that anything out you want to give out a website or how to help women that have been through tragedies like this?
Well, there are so many organizations out there, but if a woman or a man has had this problem, they've been sexually assaulted, there are so many places you can go to find some help in your own community. I was part of a support system here in New Hampshire. Mm-hmm. A number of years ago. I would just ask people to search out in their own community. I was in a group of other women that had been sexually assaulted, and that was really helpful to me. That was one of the best things, was to be able to just talk to other women and understand that the same things that I was going through, other people were...
Was the perpetrator of your crime ever brought to justice?
No.
See, neither has the perpetrators of the crime against Ken's daughter. As I said, the two guys who beat my niece so bad, they got 2.5 years in the juvenile justice facility. We've got to run. We're actually way long, but thank you so much for joining us, Catherine Prudhomme O'Brien. Take care. God bless. You are a patriot. You are a powerful woman. You have a voice.
Yes, indeed.
Take care. And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Ken McClinton and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network at WNJC 1360 and around the world on the internet. Don't go away. Ken and I will be back with our next guest.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
You've heard Paul Deltz playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sport Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
That was a powerful session, a conversation just a few moments ago with Catherine Prudhomme O'Brien, state representative from New Hampshire. If you would like to hear rebroadcast of that powerful message, today's show, please check out our websites, www.crsnetwork.com and www.ccrshow.com. On mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. Or at 1 p.m., log on to www.warradio.net. That's ROARRADIO.net. At 9 p.m., log on to highplainsdailynews.com. Now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any phone. All you need to do is call 832-999-1199. There is a gentleman who understands our situation in America. We have moved so far away from the Constitution that it's not really even a left or right. But Kentucky recently began to take on a battle against the imposition of the federal government, especially in the area of the Second Amendment. Mike Meharry is a communications director for the 10th Amendment Center, and he's going to be with us today and talk with us about exactly what's going on in Kentucky and why Kentucky is becoming a model for other states of the Union. Good afternoon, sir. It's a pleasure to have Mike Maharrey with us.
It is a pleasure to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
Listen, first and foremost, the 10th Amendment, is it even needed now? I thought we were a federal socialist nation now. Why do we need the 10th Amendment?
Well, I think we need the 10th Amendment more than ever today. And an analogy that I use with people a lot that it seems to make it really clear to them, we don't really like monopolies. If you think about a monopoly grocery store, you wouldn't want to only have one choice of where you go to the grocery. Well, basically what we've evolved into in the United States is a monopoly government where everything happens at the federal level. And that's not what was intended by the founders. It was intended a relatively decentralized system where the federal government stuck to some very specific roles, defense, foreign trade, those types of things. And most of the responsibilities were left to the states and the people themselves. And that creates that laboratory of ideas where we have different states, we have different ideas. People can do what they feel is right for their particular region and not have laws and acts imposed by a central authority in D.C. And that's really what the 10th Amendment was meant to do. It was meant to maintain that separation between the federal government and the state governments. And I think we need that today. We don't want to only be able to go to Walmart to get our groceries, and I don't want to only be able to go to Walmart or to Washington, D.C. In order to find the government leadership.
You're correct in that regard. Now, the 10th Amendment Center. Why is the 10th Amendment Center so pertinent in today's conversation, especially as we're moving towards conversations on Article 5 conferencing?
Well, I think that, our job at the 10th Amendment Center, and what we really try to do is we try to find ways at the state level to stop federal overreach, to stop the federal government from doing things that it wasn't intended to do. You mentioned the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is very clear. The government shall not infringe on our right to keep and bear arms. Well, when the federal government does that, what can we do? Well, there's things that the states can do to stop that federal overreach, mainly by simply just refusing to cooperate with enforcement. The federal government depends on the states to enforce almost all of its laws and implement almost all of its programs. So states just simply refuse to provide state assistance, no state police or local police to help the gun confiscation if that was to ever happen, then the federal government would find it very difficult to do many of the things that it does. So that's what we do at the 10th Amendment Center, and it reestablishes what Madison talked about in Federalist 46, that the states were meant to put a check on federal power when the federal government took unwarranted action. Madison said one of the things states could do is refuse to cooperate with officers of the Union. So that's really what we do at the 10th Amendment Center. It's one piece of the strategy and one piece of the pie, I guess, in keeping the federal government in the box it was meant to be in.
If only we had a 10th Amendment spirit throughout Congress, we would be in a much better state. We're talking today with Michael Maharrey, who is one of the leaders at the 10th Amendment Center, and I encourage people to go to 10thamendmentcenter.com, 10thamendmentcenter.com, to get more information about their organization and program. He deals with local and state politics for the organization, and you just happen to live in a state where a certain representative decided that, by golly, I'm not going to take it anymore off of Obama and the infringement on the Second Amendment. Your thoughts on the proposal set forth by Representative Diane St. Owens?
Well, I think it's fantastic, and I've actually personally talked to Diane, and she has a very strong grasp of that very separation of powers that we were talking about, and she recognizes the fact that the federal government is not supposed to be infringing on the right to keep and bear arms. And so she's proposed a bill that would basically void unconstitutional federal gun laws in the state of Kentucky, and it would essentially do what I mentioned earlier. It would stop the state from cooperating with any enforcement of any federal gun laws. And let me give you an idea of how powerful this is, and it goes back all the way to the 1860s, prior to the Civil War. And it was during the height of the fugitive slave era, where You had people going up into the north and trying to capture runaway slaves or even free black people and haul them back down into slavery. Most of the northern states passed what were known as personal liberty laws, and these personal liberty laws were powerful protection for escaped slaves and for free black people. And basically what the states did is they refused to allow the federal government to use, say, the state's jails to hold accused escaped fugitives. And it did things like, in Massachusetts, they would actually impeach state officers that cooperated with fugitive slave rendition. These actions essentially shut down slave rendition in the farther northern states, Massachusetts, Vermont, Rhode Island, up in that area. So this is a powerful tool that can be used, and it's also constitutional. The Supreme Court has consistently held that the states do not have to provide any resources or any assets for the enforcement of a federal law or for the implementation of a federal program. So like I said, we can pull that cooperation away. It's constitutional, it's Supreme Court approved, and it's effective. And that's basically what Diane's bill would do in the case of guns. And I hope that it gets traction in our legislature for sure.
Thank you. Listen, Michael, I have a question about the constitutionality. You know, I'm just a little wisp of a man when it comes to the knowledge of the Second Amendment and the Constitution. And some of the stuff just seems like it's the wrong thing to do. I'm just winking here. I really don't believe that. But there are others who do. And I want you to stay on the line. When we come back, I want to talk with you about constitutionality. We're with Mike Meharry today, who is from the 10th Amendment Center, and we're discussing the Kentucky bill, H.R. 35, that would purposely reject any obligation by the Commonwealth of Kentucky to follow the federal government guidelines on the Second Amendment or changes to it. We thank you so much for being with us today. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like, forgive me, we're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Studio Network, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia and around the world on the internet with the American Patriots Broadcasting TalkStream Live, SHE Talk, iHeartRadio, Rebooting Liberty Radio, and AM FM 24/7. We'll be right back right after this.
Yeah, no problem.
You've heard Paul Delks playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and financial advisor, and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
1960. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
If you would like to hear rebroadcasts of today's show, please check out our website, www.ccrsnetwork.com and www.ccrshow.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. Or at 1 p.m., log on to www.roar, that's R-O-A-R, radio.net. And at 9 p.m., log on to highplainsdailynews.com. Now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. We have the great pleasure and honor of being in the company of a man who truly understands the 10th Amendment and its purposes for repairing our nation. Mike Meharry is with us from the 10th Amendment Center. I wanted to give you this quote, Mike, and we've spoken about Diane St. Olm and what she's doing in Kentucky, which I really believe is constitutional. But Speaker of the House Greg Sumbo made this comment. He said, "No matter what the political moment is, I have never voted for anything that in my mind was unconstitutional because I put my hand on a Bible and I swore to my God to uphold the Constitution of the United States, and I'm not going to, for political expediency, violate that oath." His statement there speaks to the fact that maybe there's a constitutional issue with Diane St. Olm's proposal of refusing to abide by federal government law and rules.
Well, I would argue that he violates his oath to the Constitution if he enforces something that is outside of the bounds of the Constitution. Thomas Jefferson put it this way: the states were not founded on the principle of unlimited submission to its central government. And it's important for people to understand, and I don't think that Americans today understand this because it's no longer taught, but they need to understand that it was we, the people, that created the federal government. We created that federal government through the states. And we, the people, gave the federal government, or delegated is the fancy term for it, but we gave the federal government certain powers. And we said, these are the only powers that you have, and all of the rest of the powers remain in the state governments and with the people themselves. So when the federal government takes an action that is outside of those delegated powers, it is what is breaking the law of the land. As Jefferson put it, any such law is void, unauthoritative, and of no effect. So if you have a void, unauthoritative, of no effect act the federal government is continuing to push, somebody needs to stand up and say no, and that's the role of the states. Jefferson said it was the role of the states. Madison said it was the role of the states. I'm going to go with Jefferson and Madison over Mr. Stumbo.
I would rather do that as well. But how do we get this genie back in the bottle? Whether it was Lincoln with the 13th, 14th Amendment to follow up what he did during the Civil War, whether it's the removal of the rights of the states through the 17th Amendment repeal. I mean, my goodness, how do we get this back in order? What steps should we take, and which steps should states be taking right about here?
Well, I think there's a lot of different ways that we can approach this. At the 10th Amendment Center, we focus specifically on state actions on specific federal overreaches, and that's kind of the focus that we take in the specialty we have. And we can take this principle of refusing to cooperate. And again, this is something that Madison suggested in Federalist 46. This isn't something that Mike Meharry made up. This was the father of the Constitution. We can take this and apply it to all kinds of different issues. For instance, Obamacare. States refusing to implement that could, in fact, de facto repeal the federal health care law simply by just refusing to implement it at the state level. The federal government counts on the states. We can stop a lot of the federal overreach when it comes to spying and surveillance by taking action at the state level and restricting our state and local police to using warrants and doing surveillance in the way it's constitutionally meant to be done, and that keeps information from moving up to the federal government. So all of these actions can have specific impact on rolling back specific federal programs. The bigger picture is, as we do this, we talk about these principles that you and I are talking about now, and I think that's really what's key. Americans need to understand who is the boss, that it's not Washington, D.C., it's the boss. It's not even Frankfurt or whatever state capital happens to be in your particular state. We, the people, are in control of this system, and we, the people, can take action. It's a lot easier to take action at the state level, though. I've called my congressman before, not real effective. I usually get to talk to an intern. I can call my state representative. Exactly. I guarantee you that I can talk to my state representative. And so that's why we really focus on these state-level things, and then we use that as a platform to teach people the constitutional principles. And the more people understand that, the more they'll begin to vote, and the more they'll begin to insist on senators and congressmen and presidents that have these principles. And that's really the way that it's going to put the genie back in the bottle, as you put it.
We'll get in contact with you and your organization, whether it's the local congressman, the local representative or senator or someone from Washington who just wants to go back and get that genie back in the bottle. How do they get in contact with you and the 10th Amendment Center?
Well, the best thing to do is just head to our website, 10thamendmentcenter.com. And there's all kinds of information there. In fact, if you go on our website, up at the top bar, you'll see a thing that talks about bill tracking. If you click on that, you can see the different issues that we're working in. You can click on that particular issue, and it'll pull up a map. And you can actually click on your state and get information on what you can do in your state on that particular issue. So, if you're interested in stopping federal violations of your right to keep and bear arms, you can go to that section. You can click on your state map, and you'll find out if there's any bills that are pending, and if there's not, what you can do to get one introduced. It's an awesome tool that I really hope people will use as our state legislatures start getting into session here this month. And, just encourage your state legislators. Say, hey, I'd like you to introduce this piece of legislation. Show them where it is. Encourage them to do it. State legislatures will be kind of freaked out if they start getting a bunch of phone calls because they're not really used to it. And they're very sensitive to when their constituents start contacting them about an issue. I actually had a representative here in Kentucky tell me that he actually has gone through entire sessions where he never got a phone call from a constituent. So when he gets phone calls, it makes an impression on him. So we can have a lot of power at this level. So I really encourage people to use those tools and, use the website. There's all kinds of information that you can get about the Constitution, these principles. I have my own website, michaelmeharry.com, MichaelMaharrey, all one word.com. And I have a Constitution 101 section on there that goes through the various sections and talks about the specific powers that the federal government is supposed to have. All kinds of tools out there that I hope people will use.
Perfect. Michael Meharry, and that's the 10th Amendment Center. You all need to pick up the phone. You need to not only call Mike and get to the 10th Amendment Center via the internet, but you also need to call your local representative and senator. It can make some difference. Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network Studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet. CCR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Network, TalkStream Live, The Thunder Press, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, War Radio, and AM/FM 24/7. We will be right back with Greg Hopkins, and we'll talk about yesterday's fiasco of a town hall meeting.
They say I'm crazy, I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
You've heard Paul Delks playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos Radio Show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
If you would like to hear rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, www.ccrsnetwork.com and www.ccrshow.com. On mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. Or at 1 p.m., log on to www.roar.radio.net. And at 9 p.m., log on to highplainsdailynews.com. Now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. It was intended by our founding fathers that a strong militia, as well as individuals having the right to bear arms to protect themselves from an intruding government. However, as we have gone on, the federal government seems to be infringing every moment of the day, little by little. We have with us today a gentleman who understands that better than anybody else. That's Greg Hopkins, and he is the author of the book, A Time to Kill, The Myth of Christian Pacifism. He is a self-defense instructor as well as lawyer, and we thank him so much for being here today.
Well, I thank you so much for having me, Ken, and Happy New Year to y'all.
Happy New Year to you. What a way to bring in the new year. Apparently, President Obama has told the members of the Socialist Party, that you are not really a socialist unless you agree with gun control. Is this what America has come to, a dictatorship?
Well, apparently so, because so many Americans seem to approve of it. But and it's been a long road that I would encourage people to read the book by Jonah Goldberg, which I'm sure you're familiar with, Liberal Fascism, and it will help them understand how we got to where we are today better than, I think, most history books that they can read.
Now, in question here, does the President of the United States have the power to confiscate or take guns away from American citizens?
No, obviously he does not. All he can do, as executive, as chief executive, is direct the executive branch to do things, but it must be within the law. And in the instant case, he has not really done very much that has not been done since 1968, when the ATF, the BATFE, actually was empowered to oversee the sale of firearms. He's once again, it's a lot of show and no go here for the most part.
Exactly, but the show part of it puts a great deal of fear into Americans, and actually he's been noted as the greatest gun salesman in the history of America. Simply every time you speak, Smith & Wesson gains 10 or 15 points on the New York Stock Exchange.
Ken, I'm losing you. Can you turn up your sound, please?
Okay. I'm sorry. But just trying to find it. Is that better? Perfect.
Yes, okay. Sir. Much better. I
just want to find out. Awesome. Why, if we have this strong knowledge of the Second Amendment, do we walk in fear that someone from the executive office could possibly do something to take that freedom away from us?
Well, because we Americans have been. We all know the old story about the frog in water. If you throw the frog in a boiling pot of water, well, he jumps out immediately. But if you keep him in there when it's his body temperature, and then slowly turn it up a degree at a time, he just stays in there, fat, dumb, and happy, and cooks. And it has been the job of the progressive, socialist, communist, Democrats, liberals of this country to gradually take over the education systems. We know that they have infiltrated universities and control all of the humanities departments at the very least, and in the Federal Department of Education, that was one of their big goals, to control and unify all of the education in the United States to a socialist slant, and to make people think that the government is God. And when we into, for instance, the social programs of the Great Society programs of Lyndon Johnson, what we did to welfare families then is we made it cheaper, more profitable for daddies to leave the home and stop being fathers than to stay in the home and be fathers. And so we nuked the lower class families. And over time, what happens? The government becomes not only the source of income, it becomes the source of everything. It's the source of health care and everything else that the person on government assistance. And it becomes God, especially when the secular side of our society, the education system, everything, tells us that God is a nice fairy tale, but he's not really real. Well, then who do we look for as a supreme being? Well, the all-powerful being becomes government. And as more and more people in this country accept that, then we go back to the idea, well, why not a king? Because we don't read the Constitution. We're not taught the Constitution. We are not taught the history of our country. And as a result, we don't understand the beautiful and singular experiment that the American Republic is. And it never in the history of the world had a country formed its own government out of itself. Before, it was always an evolution of various tribes moving in and ethnic peoples and things sort of slowly, but we made something brand new, and it was the best thing anyone could ever come up with, but we have lost the sense of that. And as a result, we become a nation of whiners and needers and lost the sense of being people who say, I can do it with God's help, but I don't need anybody else's help. Does that help?
Well, listen, I want you to stay on the line with me. We're talking today with Greg Hopkins, who is author of the book, A Time to Kill, The Myth of Christian Pacifism. And I want to talk with you about the role of the church in the Constitution, since we're on the issue of education. And want to get your thoughts in terms of that. So stay right there where you are. If you would like to hear rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, www.ccrsnetwork.com and www.ccrshow.com. On mornings at 9 a.m., log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com, or at 1 p.m., log on to www.warradio.net. And now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. We'll be right back right after this break.
They say I'm crazy, I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
We're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network Studios, WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with PR Worldwide Media, Leading Edge Radio Network, TalkStream Live, The Pundit Press, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, War Radio, and AM/FM 24/7. So glad to be here today with Greg Hopkins, who is the author of a wonderful book. It should be on your actually reading list for this particular year. It's called The Time to Kill, The Myth of Christian Pacifism. Greg, a lot of people are excited about the Obama gun control show, but many people blame the educational system for us not knowing the Constitution and knowing the importance of the Second Amendment. However, hasn't the church been also a little slow and stayed in terms of recognizing the importance of the Second Amendment and teaching constitutional values to congregants?
Oh yes, our founding fathers were steeped in the Bible. Even those who claim to be deists or anything like that, the deists also believed that, along with Christians, although there are a lot of differences between deists and Christians, that deists believed that in natural rights granted by God, even though they didn't believe God was active in the universe, and they had similar views of government, that government, because men are evil, government must have as many checks and balances in it to keep men from having too much power. And they also believed in the need for religion and virtue. Let me read a quote from Franklin. Franklin said, "Let me add that only a virtuous people are capable of freedom. As nations become corrupt and vicious, and the United States is becoming more corrupt and vicious, they have more need of masters. And and Adams said that our Constitution, this is in the Federalist Papers, Adams said that our Constitution was written for a moral and religious people. It will not suit any other kind of people. And when our nation fails to recognize the things in the Bible, the virtues in the Bible and the wisdom Bible, and we fail to teach it to our children, then we leave them absolutely rudderless in the world. Our kids don't know which way to turn because they have no solid objective standards to refer to. And in my book, for instance, I point out that one of the things that the fifth commandment does for us is the fifth commandment says, honor thy father and mother, that your days may be well with you and your days may be long upon the earth. And children need to learn that respect for others comes before genuine respect for themselves. But instead, what do? We put them in school and we tell them simply because they exist, these shining little pots make the world better. And that's how you raise sociopaths. You think, oh, I'm perfect. And don't anybody try to tell me I'm not perfect. Well, the Bible tells us we're imperfect, and it says we have personal responsibility for our actions. But here we are in a country, the kid says, well, my parents never taught, I'm so rich, my parents never taught me to think about other people. That's why I got drunk and killed That's what we end up with.
Right. And exactly, we do. We end up exactly with spoiled children who don't have the spiritual capabilities of their nation, but also their lives. So here goes the next question in regards to our predicament in this nation. Last night there was a young woman on there who said that she was raped, and she wished she had a firearm that she could have protected herself. She wanted to also make note that she had children, and that she did not want to have to go to the President of the United States for permission to protect her children. Are we literally talking about a permission-oriented system of governance in which we can be satisfied that the government's going to protect everything and everybody? Is that what we come to?
Well, yeah, you see, and the first thing you have to understand is that every legal jurisdiction, every Supreme Court, and every federal court has ruled that the police have no duty to protect any particular individual. And we can understand that. It's the same for fire departments. I mean, if you could sue the fire department or the cops for not getting there before your house burned down or before the rapist raped you, how long would we have police and police departments? But what that means is that we're on our own. We have to protect ourselves. I start out my gun law class here in Alabama with explaining to people the two Alabama Supreme Court cases that say, hey, they even say, this is a quote, even in a riot situation, the police have no duty to any individual, but only to the public at large. But here's what the really, really heinous and I think evil thing that happened last night in that discussion was, Ken, the president, there was no tears for this woman, who had actually been raped. Instead, he went to the hypothetical, well, that a lot of people disagree that a gun is effective in a rape. And what is he thinking? The whole idea, she was raped, and she made her own individual decision that, hey, that situation, if it ever happens again, will be better, and I can handle it because I've got a gun. And instead of honoring her personal decision to defend her life and her two children she talked about, Obama takes it into the realm of we're in a classroom talking a debate situation here, and what he's implying is, oh, you're too stupid to have a gun, lady, and you'll only hurt yourself, or the rapist will take it away from you. You should rely on the police. And to that, I reply to Mr. Obama, when seconds count, the cops are just minutes away.
Hey, if I could jump in just for a minute. By the way, we're speaking with Greg Hopkins with us today. He is the author of a book, A Time to Kill. I think what happened in San Bernardino points out exactly what you're talking about. When those two people went into that meeting room and killed those 14 people that were having a Christmas party, 1 mile away, just 1 mile away, the police were conducting a terrorist exercise. It took them 5 minutes to get to that meeting room. In the meantime, 14 people were dead. So it points out exactly what you're saying here.
Right. I remember in my thousands of cases that I tried that were domestic violence or assaults when I was a city prosecutor, I had one, and it went before a jury. They appealed it to a jury case. And I told the jury, I said, folks, that you have a real interesting situation here, because this is the only assault that I've ever had where the cops got there while the assault was going on.
In the meantime, the assault has happened.
Right. And I said to the jury, I said, I think there was a donut shop next door. But folks, the cops aren't there. We are the first responder. Okay?
Amen to that.
That's what the president, he doesn't want us to make that decision. The socialists do not want us to make that decision, and they want us to trust the government with our very lives and the lives of our children. And we say, no, we are in charge of our lives. You don't get to make that decision.
You know, the book A Time to Kill, The Myth of Christian Pacifism, is a tremendous book. I've been reading it since I got it from you, and I thank you so much for that particular book. How can people get that book? That is a powerful book and well reasoned out. How do people get that?
How do we what?
How do people get that particular book?
Oh, okay. We are now, I just got my first check this week from bookstores that are ordering it. You can order it from any bookstore now. You may even find it on the shelves. If I find it on the shelves, you guys will hear me in Philadelphia when I holler. And but it's also available on Amazon in Kindle and ebook form, and in the paperback. It costs $20. It's a little cheaper on Amazon, and we would please go there and check it out. Okay.
And listen, every minister, every pastor, every priest in America should have that book. They really should.
Yes, I tell people at the gun shows, I ask you just to buy 4. One for yourself, one for your preacher, one for your Sunday school teacher, and one for the church library. That's all I have.
That's all. Hey, that's a very good deal. Listen, everybody, none other than the great Greg Hopkins with us today, the author of A Time to Kill, The Myth of Christian Pacifism. And you can easily go to Amazon and pick up that book, Time to Kill, Myth of Christian Pacifism. Thank you so much, Greg, for being on the air with us today.
Thank you, and I'd like to tell your listeners, if they'll go to www.alexkincaid.com, she is a Second Amendment attorney that gives the legal aspects of the president's proposals and why there are a lot of hooey. And she's also just written a book called Infringed about American gun law. It's out in hardback right now. She's a friend of mine, and she's a very sharp lawyer, and you'll be helped by her explanations.
Cool. We'll be calling on her very soon. Thank you so much, Greg.
Thank you, gentlemen, and God bless you and your ministry. Thanks.
God bless you.
Ken, I want to thank you for sitting in today as my co-host. I also want to thank our other guests that we had on with us today. And where's that schedule? Catherine Prudhomme O'Brien, state legislature from the state of New Hampshire. Michael Murray, and our most recent guest, Greg Hopkins. But for right now, we're out of time. We got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless. And we'll see you next week on the radio.
God bless. Take care. Thanks, Jim.
Hi, folks. I'm Doug Driesel.
And Blaine Davis.
President Barack Obama.
Get him out of here. But if you want your conservatism served up with a side of country comedy, then Doug and Blaine Explain the Game is for you. Coming to you from America's heartland, beautiful Cherokee Village, Arkansas, and Lake Paradise. Don't be fooled, folks. Both sides have their flaws, and Doug and Blaine Explain the Game will teach you how to get through this political season. Join us Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Tell them, Bill.
Doug and Blaine Explain the Game. I wish they wouldn't do that.